Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Enter the Apex, the podcast all about Apex Legends. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, here as always with the recently disembarked from a plane, Kyle Ferguson.
I did it. I made it. We did the Florida thing. We did the Disney thing. It's all done. I'm back. Hi.
I did the recover from a plague thing and also spent my weekend traveling, but like for funsies. My wife and I have done a lot of traveling recently, and we just wanted a weekend where we traveled for each other. And we just left town. It was lovely, very relaxing. Came back yesterday and won a game of Apex. Felt good.
Nice. I mean, last week was a weird week for shows. This show always records on Mondays, so no big deal. But news was just kind of waiting on the horizon across all shows we did last week. And this one in particular felt a bit odd, because we're sitting around towards the end of last episode being like, Fortnite development process. How nice is that? Man, content, games as a service. What a weird world. And then it all kind of comes crashing down, as we should have expected, honestly, with a recent Polygon article, leaving everything a bit odd. And I once again must say, duck is delicious, but they're also adorable. And I hate making these choices.
Wait. Explain yourself.
Ducks are adorable. I love the way they quack. They walk around real funny. You know, they're not geese. They don't have those crazy teeth.
No, I get your schism with the ducks. How does that apply to what you were talking about?
Because I just want to enjoy things, you know? I don't want to have to be responsible when it comes to video gaming. And sometimes I feel like I'm funding a cartel.
Okay. All right. I can see that. I can hold with that.
So we were sitting here last episode being like, man, MMOs, battle royales, MOBAs, why can't we all just be like Fortnite? And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, article came out on Polygon instead of Kotaku this time. Seems like they're all, fighting for the scandals a little bit. But reporting that crunch, as we've all heard about it recently, crunch is a constant at the Epic development team. And it is rather intense and sad, and it shouldn't be happening.
No, it shouldn't. Dude, yeah, we literally had that talk last Monday, and then Tuesday this article comes out from Kotaku. By the way, I didn't notice this before. It is literally in Kotaku's filing system where, it's like it's the headline, who wrote it, what day and time it came out, and then where they filed it to. Filed to crunch. Yeah.
It's that big of a thing that we have to have its own category. You can read about it at length. And it's, having worked in a newer tech industry, this was helping program food delivery services. You can imagine that boom back in 2012. I know what it can be like in those offices with the uncaring managers. And this stuff always hits home pretty hard.
Yeah, I didn't work on that with you, but I definitely have had jobs in the past, specifically immediately after college, that asked me to work more than was, let's just say, comfortable, for lack of a better word. And I said yes to it anyway because I had to eat.
And we want to prove ourselves, we just got this big old fancy degree. We want to be cool. We want to be good. And you get taken advantage of. And game industries are a little susceptible to this because the dream job aspect, right? It's the old Hollywood sort of thing. Move to Hollywood. Wow, crazy. You want to be a star, kid, don't you? And someone ends up, underpaying you or getting weird on you. We're happy to report, by the way, that this is us walking backwards our wishes and sadly admitting the reality of life. This is not something we're reporting is happening at EA. And in fact, they've made a bit of a statement, which I hope holds true, to basically say that we are aware this is a thing in the industry and we are actively moving slower because we're human and we understand that we need to avoid crunch and burnout.
And you could take that at face value or not. Some people are saying it's an easy excuse. Anyways, keep that thought in mind as we talk about the big old update blog as the main item of discussion for today's episode, because that's exactly what we got. Drew McCoy, executive producer of Apex Legends, got on the EA horn and dropped an Apex Legends update blog where McCoy, and I would assume also edited by some sort of committee. I'm sure somebody else had a say in the final words that were posted in here. Kind of give us an update on where Respawn stands on Apex Legends. Kind of opened up, reminding us of basically how awesome Apex's launch was. To me, I can't help but make the joke of it. This felt a lot like I can't hold all this success. Is how this felt.
Yeah, it's a weird world right now in video gaming too, because I'm also watching a lot of people get crazy excited about WoW Classic. The same people who say any game that doesn't have constant updates is a dead game, but they're looking forward to Classics, which will get no updates, except for the things that already know you exist and will leak in later on.
It will get updates. It's just that you know what the updates will be.
Right, and then it'll end at some point, or they'll keep going, but it'll be stuff you already know.
Which I have to say, I as someone who is excited to play Classic, just to remove myself from how much I want to play it, I'm really interested to see how that lands because of that exact fact. That exact fact that you're talking about, that like games as a service nowadays, popular games at this moment seem to live or die on their update cadence. And with WoW Classic, we more or less know what the cadence is going to be. We don't know exactly how long they're going to wait between updates, but we know what those updates are going to be. We know exactly how many updates it's going to have total. And once that first one comes out, we're going to have a really good idea of how often the updates are going to roll out for that game. So that is just interesting because it's almost like a video game time machine in a certain way. But to Apex Legends, I mean, it's different. It's more traditional. It's what we kind of come to expect. The whole discussion around games as a service right now at this exact moment in 2019, this is par for the course. So McCoy's update here on the EA blog opens up with, man, remember, boy, we were just so successful. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. And then it immediately turns into the same self-aware we hear yous that we've come to expect from any type of dev outreach in this day and age of games as a service. This is really it's like a playbook. I could have, before I read this, you could have said, hey, Garrett, how do they open this up? And I would have told you, recap how awesome the launch was, and we hear you. That's how you open this blog, and that's exactly what happened.
But at the same time, they did properly warp it for a modern time by addressing that you want a healthy development crew making your game. You don't want it to randomly die one day or hear that you're supporting one of these, cartels of game industry, and we're going to be there for you in the long run.
Right. The first specific issue that McCoy mentions in this update that they're working to address is slow server performance at the beginning of the match, and then got into some kind of technical specifics as to what exactly is happening, that it's not as simple as some of the hypotheses around gaming communities may have made it out to be. And from what I can tell, it sounds like they're still not entirely sure how to fix this, but they are working on it, and it's at the tip top of their priority list, which is good for me to hear. This is great. A lot of this update comes down to, we're going to talk to you more. And if this is how they're going to talk to us, I'm all for it. I like this. I think they've been pretty transparent with their bugs and informing us that, and up until this point, I think they've been very honest with, hey, yeah, we don't know. We're working on it. We'll let you know when we fix it. And I think that's kind of rad. Obviously, for some people, it's not enough, and they're going to get all rabble-roused and their jimmies rustled, as you like to say, Kyle.
I do. That is a favorite phrase of mine.
But I like that level of honesty. If you don't know what's going on, just admitting that, yeah, we're working on it. We're not sure. We'll keep you updated. And that's...
Now, to be fair, if they want to just isolate whatever that server issue is and have it as a game mode, I welcome it, because it is... I love sometimes getting in there because it's a great training mode. Everything's moving all slow. You get to think about the gun you're picking up. I've also heard that if you were stuck in one of these slow servers, the time that is passing is being calculated by the battle pass normally. So 5 minutes of gameplay that you're being rewarded for may actually be a minute of normal gameplay. at full speed, but you're still getting points for it.
So you want this to be a feature, not a bug. You want this to come play Apex Legends' most recent update. We now have slow motion mode.
Yeah, it was really powerful in training for Super Smash Bros. And I would often, just to myself, knowing that I was going to be playing Super Smash Bros. That weekend with friends, jump in, build my own training mode, work on catching items thrown at me and all sorts of stuff like this. And it works. It works well. It's really nice to have.
Dear God, man, you are so much more serious than I thought you were.
I just like to be good. And plus, I built a rapport, a stigma, reputation for being the guy who was good at the video games. And I wasn't going to show up to some sleepover, bad. That's not cool. It's all I had going for me.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure I would play this mode, but if it'll help you, then cool.
Still would rather have attachments in training mode, though.
Yeah. McCoy also brought up audio issues, which I'm not even. He didn't get very specific. He just said currently testing some potential fixes. I'm like, well, wait, which audio issues are we talking about here? We're talking about the fact that footsteps in this game are pretty bad compared to games like PUBG. I have no idea what direction anything is coming from unless it's on the roof. And even then, my direction I can give you is they're on the roof. I can't tell you where on the roof, but I know they're above me.
So this is a relationship issue that people are having because they play other games.
Yes. Well, that's why I'm talking about audio issues mentioned in this update, but they don't specify, because I've still been having from time to time the infinite firing gun in the distance bug. Is that the issue they're talking about? Is there some other issue that I'm completely unaware of that McCoy is referencing here? I don't know.
Is it that bunker has microphones and speakers outside of it that launch its sound across the entire basin?
Maybe. I would really like that to change, by the way, whether or not the bunker doors are open or closed. Because if they're open, I think it'd be really cool that it has the effect it currently has in the game. But if it was closed, I think it would be cool that you had to be way closer to bunker to actually hear that there was a fight going on in there.
There's actually a really intense issue with the recent Siege update, Rainbow Six. Right? Rainbow Six? They're on 6?
Are you just talking about Siege? Because it's just Rainbow Six Siege.
We can just call it Siege, yes.
Yes.
Maybe
I don't think it has a number associated with it.
Oh, wow, yeah. I always remember 6 for some reason. That's my own fault. At any rate, I've been watching quite a bit of it because I like the tactical slowness of it. And they've been having a huge bug recently where their sound isn't pointing the correct direction again. And people are, once again, kind of flocking over to PUBG, which is so weird. That a house of cards is how I would describe my experience, my onlooking with PUBG. It's always just barely teetering, barely staying up, but sometimes it's at the top of everyone's list.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're not wrong, kind of in the same frame of mind here. But yeah, I just wish they had kind of specified.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where to take this. So they brought up cheaters. Nothing really new here. They just kind of repeated their statement of we don't want to tell cheaters how we plan to come after them, which is good. And I'm as much as I look at this like, oh, you're not really telling us anything new here. It's probably the kind of thing you just need to keep reiterating, because as long as there are cheaters, there will be people complaining about the cheaters.
Right. And the soft cheaters are on the rise right now, where you basically factor in a certain number of misses so you don't get reported as often. They've found a bizarre workaround for the moment.
Yeah. So good on them. Yeah. I guess it's an ongoing battle. Hit registration issues was brought up, which I had seen posts every now and then. Hadn't really paid much mind to them, and haven't been noticing egregious examples of hit registration issues in my own games. Although I would say lately it seems like it's been happening with the Spitfire. But turns out, upon just very quick internet sleuthing, if you just go to the Apex Legends subreddit and search for hit registration, tons of posts, tons of clips showing pretty egregious examples of hits that definitely should have hit, not hitting. And I guess my TLDR read on what they mentioned regarding hit registration in this blog is it sounds like they are similar to the slow server performance issues. Sounds like they're probably further away from fixing this than I think a lot of us would prefer. Obviously, I think that's, you know what, that's probably a stupid statement because we would all probably prefer this to be fixed ASAP. But the dev comments here focus on adding a system for reporting hit registration issues, and that while Respawn have already made some fixes, that, quote, more work needs to be done to address the root of the problem. McCoy then went on to say that in coming weeks, Respawn will talk more about what's being done to fix this in future patches. So a lot of future, multiple patches. The most immediate thing it sounds like coming is a better way to report this issue, which none of this sounds like a fix, obviously.
Yeah, this is particularly bad because these people are aiming, and it's a bit of a randomized game. It's a battle royale. So when you frame up on someone properly and you don't get the reward, you know, the treats don't dispense, there's a huge issue when it comes to this sort of thing. This is crazy too, because it doesn't have the lag of what you remember from, like, you know, LAN parties playing Halo when you were younger. It's just somebody's walking, you frame up on them, and the bullets do not connect.
Right. I mean, that's pretty egregious. Like so many of these issues are. You know, bad server performance is something that really affects the quality of your game. So do cheaters. So does your gun hitting what you actually aimed correctly at.
Right.
Like this is one of the more egregious issues that is currently in the game. And which keep all of this in mind and keep that Fortnite crunch in mind as we talk about new content, because new content was brought up in this blog post, and McCoy went straight for the crunch buzzword when addressing players' cries for more content. He said, quote, "The studio culture that we've worked hard to cultivate and the health of our team are very important. We take those things into account when we discuss our content roadmap, the production schedule, and the frequency in which we can update the game. Our long-term goal is to ensure Apex Legends always feels alive and thriving with a focus on quality of content over novelty or speed of release. At the same time, we want to maintain our culture as a development team and avoid crunch that can quickly lead to burnout or worse." And then he said that at launch, they shared a high-level view of their roadmap, showcasing their take on seasonal approach to their live service, and basically saying, what you've already seen is what we're going to do. And so, like, this is so layered here, right? Because crunch is a big topic, is a big issue in the gaming, sphere. You and I, our entire podcasting career up until this point has been built on the back of doing shows almost strictly about Blizzard Entertainment games. This is our first time doing a game-specific show that isn't about a Blizzard game. And this year, especially, Blizzard has, for all the wrong reasons, added probably more weight to the conversation around crunch than any other event that has transpired in the gaming industry in 2019.
Interesting. Which one are you referring to?
Laying off hundreds of freaking people.
And thereby putting that work back on other people again.
Right, and now they're rehiring people for the positions they just laid people off for in contract positions. Like it, yeah. Babe Ruth called that shit. Like
right.
Their own employees who were fired called that shit. As they're on their way out, they're like, "I'm going to get replaced by a lower paid contract worker they don't have to pay benefits to," and that's exactly what they're doing.
Right, and that's why I need that clarification, because you're right, that does fall into crunch. It's not, immediately defined as that, but people did call it out when it happened, and now we're seeing an associate's position over on the jobs at Blizzard being the one who's going to run an entire esports game. It's a little crazy.
It 100% is. And then having the same conversations around Anthem, a game that is, for all intents and purposes, a flop, and also had stories of crunch coming out of that, and now this big Fortnite crunch discussion. And late last year with the freaking, and this is just stuff off the top of my head, obviously not all of the examples, but Telltale closing down, and then all the stories of crunch coming out of that, for essentially no job security because the studio just decided to shut down with no warning.
Right, so, the doors are locked when you show up.
Right. So this all is a big hot topic conversation that, frankly, I think you and I are just not qualified to talk about. We can sit here and go, this is really bad, and something should and needs to be done to just make a better, more positive, more humane working environment for all of these, every person that's involved in the creation of video games, because this is beyond a trend now. This is just the state of the industry, it would appear.
Right. And what we can do is applaud Respawn for taking the same approach here. And something that just happened with Anthem last week as well is they laid out a roadmap saying, basically, we know the game isn't great at the moment, but we can't wait to show you everything that we have planned. And here's our, I believe the quote early on was like a 10-year roadmap, basically. But, over the next 2 years, we're going to fix these issues and add this content. And last week, they broke that roadmap. And they basically said, we're going to focus on fixing the game in its entirety first. All that content that hardcore players need to keep playing is gone. Doesn't exist. I don't know when it's going to come. You're just going to have to deal while we fix the core game. That's a roadmap broken. And that's something that Respawn hasn't done here, which we need to applaud them for, but is also frustrating as the consumer. And I can't help but think that we've made our own issues here by being fans of these really random games. Matchmaking, battle royales, MOBAs, all of these have so much variance in us. Us as players show up and we're sleepy, or we're really primed and we had an exciting day and our fingers are going faster than they normally do. We have so much variance in our own lives that they can't give us everything we need to make the game balanced all the time, to make the game interesting all the time. And with a battle royale, there's just so much chance that you're going to open a bad door and the Spitfire's in your face, right? And sometimes the Spitfire doesn't even hit. That's more variance on top of it. I feel like after seeing all these reports from Fortnite, basically what they've done over there is said, our game is insane. And we're going to keep insanity at such a height. We're going to keep juggling so many plates at once that you're never going to have any of them crash. And if some do crash in the background, there's 5 other plates going in the air and, watch this hand while the other one, hides the rabbit. And that is why so many people are finding Apex Legends frustrating or imbalanced, because there's not enough distracting magic tricks going on.
Yes. I don't entirely agree with everything you just said.
Sure.
But I also, I don't know. That can be said of so many games that I think are having growing pains right now. And I would put Overwatch and Hearthstone into a similar boat.
Sure.
These are games that are, I guess I disagree with the variance. I'm like, whatever. You're signing up for that when you play a Battle Royale. You're signing up for that when you play a card game. Probably not signing up for that as much as an Overwatch, but whatever the case. These are games that, from my view, looking at the community feedback, do not update enough for the hunger of their player base. These are all games that are kind of stuck in a holding pattern. And the reason I think Apex Legends has to defend itself from such, I think, a heavy onslaught of complaints about lack of updates is because it's so new and it entered an already saturated marketplace.
Sure.
This is not the first game of its type. It's not a vast, wide open genre for you to just kick the door in and plant your flag. There's already 2 major contenders and plenty other what I would call minor for the sake of this purpose, without getting into deep nuanced conversation about all the other battle royales that are out there. But 2 major contenders, and you come in, throw a lot of money at the problem in the form of hiring every streamer worth a damn to inflate the interest in your game, rapidly at the beginning, and then I would argue not deliver on the hype that you bought and paid for.
That's where we can turn it back on them a little bit. I absolutely praise what's being done here with Respawn, saying that we are avoiding overworking our workers, and we're going to allow them to be creative. You'll get meaningful updates, as they put it, but you're not wrong. You also can't, it's not false advertising, but I know a lot of people felt very warped, taken advantage of, because they thought it was an organic experience. They were watching their favorite streamer. Their favorite streamer says, "Oh my God, have you heard of this game? Look at it go."
Right.
And you get into it, and then the streamer leaves, and you go, I thought we were all enjoying this.
Right, and in some cases, they go to PUBG and then they go, "Oh shit!" Right, I just prefer playing Apex more, and then they come back, which has been. I'm just gonna throw shade at everyone this week, but
it is a seesaw, and we're all equally human, and they're human, and they get burnt out of their game, and then they leave, and really, I just wish the statements would stop. Streaming is such a young industry, not only in the age of many streamers, but of the job itself. And there's a lot of, declarations. It reminds me of the old, back in BC, these big, long blog posts that people, I'm leaving the guild. I can't raid anymore. Just huge piles of words. And they're talking about their life and their kids and what's happening at home and you're just like, wow, this is way more information than I needed. You can just glimpse the future and say, I need 2 weeks off, and you'll be fine.
Yes. Well, at the same time, like I to try and remove myself from this in my gut reaction, it's just I try and look at this like communication from a studio. It's a puzzle. Like you should think about it that way. Like Respawn's going to say something, and the community is going to have a reaction. Doesn't matter what you say. They will have a reaction. I think the game, more or less, is to craft what you're going to say so that it gets the type of reaction that you want. And so when you bring up crunch, which is honestly a noble effort, let's take them at their word here and assume that they're not using it as an easy form of defense.
Right. Let's hope nobody's sitting in the office right now like, oh my God, how dare you say that is our culture here? We are dying. I hope that article doesn't come out.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not even what I was getting at. I mean, like, I've seen it run around that it's just like, oh, that's an easy out, is to say, you want crunch, whatever. If they're 100% honest with that, good on them. That's great. We need more studios to take a stand like this. However, if you're also going to continue to beat the slower but higher quality updates, your updates so far should have been higher quality, because I don't think they have been. This is a bug-ridden game full of cheaters, and it hasn't gotten better.
Okay, all right. One more praise, and then I want to tackle that, absolutely. They have been quiet, but that also means that their roadmaps aren't wrong. And when you read about Fortnite right now, what you're learning is that their roadmaps aren't wrong because they're forcing their workers to make it right through overtime, through having no weekends, 100-hour work weeks. What's happening over there is the marketing team says, we got a Captain America shield. And the workers go, excuse me? They go, yeah. You are going to have a Captain America shield for me by next week. And they go, oh, crap. And then sit down and do it. And we haven't run into that situation either. Nothing's been promised, but I also know exactly, again, thinking of my time in new tech app work, it was horrible when something would be released publicly that wasn't done yet, and you were the one to clean it up.
Yeah. I'm with you again. Yes, that shouldn't be the case. So what I'm again talking about the strategy of communication here. It's just weird because this feels a little combative in a certain way, or self-aggrandizing, I guess, because they're talking about, look how our updates are more high quality. It's like, well, they're not really. Like, to be honest, from now on. And I would like to preface everything I'm about to say with this. I just like playing this game. I think it's really freaking good. I don't want to go back to PUBG. I hate Fortnite personally. If you like Fortnite, whatever, cool, good for you. I can't stand that game. This is how I want to play my BR. It's the perfect combination of movement, shooting, class-based mechanics, everything, or hero-based mechanics, I guess is a better way to put it. That being said, if you're going to put messages out like this, you need a leg to stand on, and I don't think they have one here. The Battle Pass, much like Anthem, I'm going to talk in generality here, is considered a failure. It's considered not a particularly great Battle Pass, pretty boring, low impact. Their updates up to this point tend to introduce bugs alongside what they're trying to accomplish. Gibraltar, caustic issues with their passive damage mitigation as only the most recent example of what they've done. We're still dealing with basic things like hit registration issues. You mean to tell me that you're going to say that your updates are going to be less frequent and more high quality when in the same update you're admitting that your guns don't hit what you aim at?
Right. That's egregious. And I'm 100% with you. And there's also nothing wrong with what you're saying. You're pre-apologizing too, but there's nothing wrong with going to a movie and being like, wow, I wish they had done X wrong or had done X differently for me. And I feel that way about Anthem. It was, like what a Iron Man fantasy. All right. How could you do it wrong? Well, here's my list of things of how it went wrong. But that doesn't mean as a fan, as a consumer, as just someone who really wanted that game, Mass Effect 3 ending is one for me. People are like, oh, did you want to be king of space and get ice cream when it was over? Yes. Yes, I did. I wanted to say, good job, Shepard. Here, go live on the house, with your relationship you chose. Like, I've got no problem. And don't end it 5 times for me. I don't like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King endings. Like, just Frodo gets grabbed by an eagle. Done. But I need closure. I don't. Like, just have a happy ending. Move on.
You're going to have some issues with Game of Thrones, let me tell you that.
Oh, dude, that thing's going to end like 50 times. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm pretty apologizing because I don't know. Because for me, I want to set it up. I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Because there's a big divide. Like I'm being harsh here because I find this post obnoxious.
Yeah. I think that's 100% fair. And it is obnoxious in that way. We are also, as a community, responsible. I don't know how many times, Gibraltar last week had like a jump that you could do where you could basically fly. And as a gamer, for me, I'm like, that'll be fixed. I'm not going to waste my time. But there's a lot of people who need to know how to reload that Peacekeeper a little faster. And we've built a YouTube industry and an article industry. I mean, why do you think there's even a crunch folder on these websites? It's because we consume it and it gets ads up. So we've made our own bed as consumers too, and they're having to try to find sheets that fit it.
Yeah,
I'm not proud of that one.
So my less personal reaction to this is if I'm just looking at what they posted here, and I'm not kind of dinging them with, yeah, but your updates haven't been that great, is just, all right, well, you don't want to crunch. And you clearly need to either up the quality of your updates or make more updates. What is the answer? And the answer is, I don't know, does EA need to fund the studio more? Do they just need to hire more talent? Right? Because what else? What else can I take away from this? My only other thing is to just say, good on you for no crunch. I'll come back when your game is not broken.
Right. We might as well talk about the topic that I'm 100% with you on. Because I can make all sorts of excuses about, human beings and making mistakes and having a great industry and having a healthy workplace. The battle pass is super lame. I do not feel motivated to play that extra game, to grind out anything, and the incidentals I receive do not surprise me or even make me pause. I'm playing to play, and then I'll be done when I'm done.
It actually, at the moment, is causing a very minor annoyance for me in that I don't want the little red dots above my my library of things just to go look at a freaking stat tracker. Give me a right-click, mark a scene, please, and thank you.
Well, and the other thing, like the season kills hidden in there, that should just be a part of the thing. Like, why would I unlock something that I'm gonna show off as I do it?
You're gonna bait me into being an even grumpier asshole than I already have been.
All right, but I do feel like a little bit of the game is to blame because it is a little more serious looking. You know, like we're not toony. You know, we're not having
it's pretty toony.
Events, putting bunny ears on top of Bloodhound.
It's pretty toony, man. I mean, it's definitely in between PUBG and Fortnite, but it's pretty cartoony.
Right, but you think of something like World of Warcraft maybe being one extreme where you can be kind of colorful and, you know, have crystals hovering on your shoulders. And then you got things like Terra where all you can do is reduce the amount of armor sort of thing. You always kind of look, it just turns into a blob of chainmail and boobs. I'm not sure where stylistically Apex Legends wants to go with its skins.
Right now it's a pretty minor thing for me. Like, good skins would be obviously not a bad thing, but it's not something that I personally am really invested in right now. I'm kind of looking at them like, could we have an update to the map? Could we have some sort of event? Just anything to spice things up.
But they haven't declared the sky the limit. And should Gibraltar have a panda suit? Should Bloodhound have a...
the answer is yes, Kyle.
Yes,
Gibraltar should totally have a panda suit.
Bring it on. But we haven't seen that amount of freedom yet, so I don't know what framework we're working in, other than the sort of everybody gets a weird moving grid as part of their outfit. And that's not inspiring.
No, but I also don't want to continue crapping on Apex, a game I still play quite a bit and enjoy. Right. Yeah, that's the, I don't know. That's my defense. Is just like, y'all, I'm still playing the crap out of this game and I really enjoy it. And I don't want to play other battle royales. But when I see an update like this, I'm just like, yeah, I got nothing but pushback for you.
Well, there is one big fear that they targeted that I had last week directly, and that is, they're spreading themselves thin with other Respawn games.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is where I will push back against commenters. Y'all are dumb if you thought this is the way the studio worked. Like, that is the most insane concept. It always has been, is, you know, X feature took away from my design. Like, you really think the people that are making Apex Legends are making freaking Jedi Fallen Order? Like, truly? Really? You have any idea how studios work or how teams function within a studio?
I don't.
Okay, not like the way these commenters thought at all. That's, God, this is Diablo Immortal all over again. They literally say, Chinese studio developing it, and everyone, oh my God, I can't believe Diablo 4 is going to take longer because of this mobile game. The same people aren't working on it.
You can't discount that feeling for Paragon players. And I know I'm just bringing up the weirdest little town in the middle of nowhere. Became a ghost town overnight. Like, boo-hoo. Everyone moved to the city. It didn't even have water. Like, it's fine. The tumbleweed rolls through and there's no shootout anymore. Okay, who cares? The train was built somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it was shocking. And when we hear about other projects launched, it is easy to assume.
To a certain degree, I don't know. I see them as disconnected. Not Paradox in the chat room gets it right. Yes, this always bothers me. They release a new skin in a game and people are like, they should be fixing bugs. Yeah, let's get the artists on bug fixing.
Okay, that I'm 100% with you. Like, that's insane. That is not abandoning a thing that 100 people like.
So you're talking about it as like an EA, like, just they've got X amount of talent and they're just assigning it where it belongs, which I guess makes sense because there was that report from, I think, Schreier over at Kotaku on Anthem saying that, like, people working on Anthem were pulled off and to work on FIFA. So yeah, right. I guess in a world where that is something that has come to light, okay. But
right, I'm not talking about Bug and art team and guy who's sitting there doing concept art and someone breaks down his door and says the guns aren't hitting and he's like, damn, puts down his art pen, flips over his degree and like some sort of 007 secret agent MIB button, and the whole office just changed. His desk becomes flat instead of tilted all of a sudden. Like, no,
Jesus.
I'm with you there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now I see where you're coming from. All right. So, but still, like, the decision was, General Order's basically done. That decision was made a long time ago, way before the success of Apex was known, was a known quantity.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, whatever. if you're complaining that EA, you should have known. I don't know. Well, shit. Maybe I'm a hypocrite because this is the same episode where I said you should hire more people, or you should have, like, I don't know. It is, again, we get into this discussion of it's hard for them to defend against this kind of talk just because of their marketing. The way that they just essentially bought clout, made their game succeed through all of the Battle Royale streamers that anyone wants to watch, and then couldn't keep up with the speed they were now traveling.
Correct.
They were like airdropped onto the highway in a car which is max speed is 25 miles an hour.
I can't argue with any of that stuff. You know, we play our tycoons and there's barf in the streets of my roller coaster tycoon, and I hire more janitors, and I just press a button and boom.
Right. Yeah, and we have no way of knowing how easy or difficult that may be to do, but again,
there's a training. You got to get trained, and that's something that came out in that Fortnite article. Like, they did hire on. They doubled the size of their production staff, but those people had to be trained to use the engine they were making. And at the same time, there are also a lot of these companies, just like World of Warcraft back in the day, had this issue where they didn't expect it to be as big. And there was all these quality issues. People were losing their items. People were mistrading things and had to contact a GM. And I am in love with that idea of the GMs just getting to sit around, the game masters, getting to sit around and like role play and get it turned into a ball of fire and then explode in front of you and hover and made of stars and be like, what could I do for you today? And you're like, damn, all right, GM, you're hero, thank God. But the company's trying as hard as they can to automate that process because they have so many tickets that they can't fulfill them. So then they turn into a warehouse of tickets, and you got to address X number of tickets over the course of your day, and you lose all that beautiful theming that you were having fun with before. And that's only natural. So I would love, in the end, it is such a bizarre industry because we saw what happened with films. We've been through this before. And in those places, the Apple Box guy has a union. It's a thing in film. He's not actually, it's like not a box of apples. It's Apple Box. The Best Boy has a union. The lighting. Like, these people are, you know, sometimes you hear insane ideas, cultural ideas, like what happened with Aliens. That's a fantastic documentary, The Making of Aliens, because he's trying to make the movie, but he's doing it in the UK and they keep taking tea breaks and it's driving him insane. But that cultural shift was different because they were filming in the old 007 studio. Those sort of things could help these guys out so that we don't have these egregiously overpaid top ends with everybody else working hard below. And maybe if we even add, there's more funds to hire more people on. This whole thing sort of chains together into this big, beautiful picture that finally makes sense.
Right. It's going to be an interesting thing to look at in a couple of years. Right. But right now it's strange seeing a post like this. So I don't know. I don't know where I come away from this is like, well, I'm going to keep playing this game. But if you ask me what I thought on this post, I go, ooh, I got thoughts, and you just heard them.
This would be a much different episode if everything in the game industry wasn't happening in the background, because I think we would be looking at this rather serious, like this statement, and did you expect King Canyon to stay the same forever? Like, no. Am I impressed by this statement that you're going to change up your one map? Not at all. In fact, I feel like you should be having a rock slide once a week. You should be blowing that place up. You know how many grenades have been in those houses now? Maybe the wood wouldn't be up anymore. You know, that's where I love this theming of the GMs from old World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do. But this kind of layer of, I don't know, loud loud pushback from the community, it's going to come with the launch that this game had. And some of it is on their, it's on them for the way that they marketed the game.
Which is a fascinating conversation in its own. And we're seeing that with, outside of its issues right now, Siege is having a rather healthy expansion of its community. And it is built naturally. And even something like PUBG evolved from that old mod sort of feeling that we had with Warcraft 3 and the Dota and everything like that. These things develop organically in the background. And when you force esports, when you force hype, things come crashing down.
Yep. Interesting for sure. Really, I'm just hoping that the next Battle Pass learns a lot from this first one. But right now, I would just settle for some bug fixes. On the subject of new ways to play, there was a recent Q&A, and Respawn developer Jay Fresh confirmed that new ways to play are coming, but that was all Jay confirmed.
New ways to play are coming.
That was basically it. That was all I had to say. So
and they don't overpromise.
It's good. That's more than we got from the Hearthstone team, so I'll give them that. So let's talk about actually playing the damn game, Kyle.
Yes,
because following the 1.1.1 patch, I've seen this article from Dexerto. I've never really known how to pronounce this website correctly, but they post a lot of Apex Legends stories. Their best loadouts following the 1.1.1. I've seen this thrown around quite a bit as a good place to put your head if you're wondering what guns you should be picking up and kitting as you're playing your game of Apex. And I don't entirely disagree with it.
No, I think the best thing about it is based on the kit as a whole, not just one gun. Like, you want the best stuff. Oh no, you found a Havoc. Well, now that Havoc should have this mod, this mod, this mod. And actually a 3 times is better than a 2 and a 4. Like, no, it's not like that. This is just, if you're comboing 2 guns together, which 2 should you have? And when you get one of these guns, what should you look for in your other slot that can complement it?
Yes, which is something we've talked about since the pretty early days, even referencing, I don't know, it might have been another Dexerto. I don't even remember, but I remember reading multiple guides early on that were saying, have your main burn him down gun and then a finisher, whatever it may be. For me, it's usually one of the R's and a Peacekeeper. And that's still more or less the case, according to what Dexerto is putting out there right now. So according to their list, in ascending order, in the number 4 slot, they put the R99 and R301, which, yeah, you can usually find enough light ammo to make this work. I don't hate this.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it on stream, but it's just a solid move. I mean, it's basically you're doing the two. The main bullet hose and the secondary bullet hose. And when one hose is empty, you move over to the next one.
Yeah.
Basically that kid that shows up to the water balloon fight with one of those backpack super soakers. And you're like, wow, grats, kid. Happy birthday.
Yes. Totes. I have done this before. I really have no issue with this, although personally I would go the other direction because I always think of what I'm opening the fight with and what I'm finishing the fight with. My aim is a lot better with the 301, so I'd probably open with that, and then I would spray and pray to finish killing my targets with the 99.
So you would actually do it backwards, or is that frontwards?
Backwards.
Okay.
So I would, if I'm rocking both R's, both the 301 and the 99, I would start with the 301 just because of my own personal proficiency with the gun, and then end with the 99 because I do tend to miss more shots than I take with a 99. But it's a bullet hose, and
yes,
it's essentially. I would prefer either a 99 or a 301 and then a Peacekeeper to finish them off with. If I'm double rocking the R scenarios, the R99 is essentially taking the place of a shotgun for me because of just how many bullets it can put into a target in rapid succession.
Do you go single shot on your 301
Oh God, almost never.
Really?
The gun is so accurate, Kyle. It is so freaking accurate. And once you start getting it kitted, it's extremely accurate. Yeah, certainly. What's our favorite phrase, Kyle?
It depends.
It depends. Yeah, if we're going fairly long distance, if we're beyond what I would call mid range, yeah, I'll throw it in a single shot. But most of the time, full auto on that.
Interesting.
301 is my gun of choice right now. If I could drop and just find any gun, I want the 301. Especially since Spitfire nerf. More on that in a second. We want to talk about the nerfs at the end? This is basically what this article did. Let's just rip off the article since we're doing that already.
Well, and that's why this has changed, is because the Wingman and the Spitfire have been adjusted, and we as a player base need to adjust with it. And I like that.
Yeah, me personally, the Spitfire is the only thing I'm having to adjust from. I was terrible with the Wingman to begin with, and the Wingman's nerf didn't really affect me, other than I am no longer getting shot by Wingmen nearly as often, which I'm okay with. This list put Havoc with Turbocharger and Peacekeeper in the number 3 slot. I love this, although I feel like now the secret is out since it is actually making some lists. I really, really like the Havoc right now, especially with the buff it got to its magazine size. And if I can find a Turbocharger, I am pleased as punch with my Havoc. If I can't find one of the R guns, I am more than happy rocking the Havoc for the game. And then they also, they put it with a Peacekeeper here. This is basically, it's just another accurate, fully automatic weapon, which is what I like to roll with. R301, R99, or Spitfire with a Peacekeeper is my preferred way to play this game. So the Havoc just being better now puts it into that territory for me.
I like it.
Yeah. Then they mentioned the Peacekeeper with the R301. I'm obviously going to agree with it because this is my favorite loadout. Period. Full stop. What has been your go-to, Kyle?
Definitely one of the R's is something I drop for. I still have just a nub fascination with the alternator. It's the thing that I find on the ground. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. And then I feel a little bad giving it up later on, unless I'm moving straight over to another light weapon, and then everything just sort of transitions over. So that I'd say like that's where I have a bit of a block, is if I already have a really nice alternator, and then I find, let's say, a hemlock, and I go, what? Well, what do I do now?
Wait, hold on. That's not the best example in the world. You're going from like one like I'll make it work early game gun to another I'll make it work early game gun.
Right. So I hold on to the alternator. I'm not sure if that's right. I do agree 100% though that is a fabulous stepping stone to making it to that next better R light weapon. And then seeing all those attachments just fly over, I go, oh, beautiful. What a perfect game.
So in the it depends clause, if you can land hits with the hemlock, do that. But if you can't, that's 100% the wrong call to make, because most of your attachments for the alternator will swap over to either of the R's.
Right.
So if you can actually kill people with the alternator versus the hemlock, you should just stick with the alternator. I'm with you. I really like the alternator as an early game gun. I do not want it as we move later into the game.
No, and I find myself stuck with G7s a lot recently. Which isn't that's fine. You're stuck with a fine workhorse.
You know my opinion. That's like my favorite. I'm not excited gun.
Yeah.
Stuck with it is a great way to put it, man. That is my favorite stuck with it gun. I love the G7. I'm a big champion of the G7 Scout. But with the longbow being elevated to where it is now, it's obviously a little bit harder to defend the G7, but it's still, I'm finding it more often than I find a longbow. I just don't have enough practice with the longbow.
Right, which is why that new player queue or whatever I end up in is amazing, because I actually get to miss some shots with the longbow. But I'm way better at the golden what you have at sniper rifle.
I still think you're crazy about the new player queue. And we've gotten like a 50-50 split on people writing in, either agreeing or completely disagreeing with you.
If I team up with a friend, it's gone. But maybe it's just luck. Maybe it's mid-Sunday.
I'm putting my fist down, Kyle. It's luck.
Well, I love it, and I love being lucky. It's a great place to practice the longbow, and I'm getting there. I've got that arc. I got some headshots. It's going. It's working now. But I'd still rather, do it with the G7. I tell you, though, what I have completely fallen off of, in fact, I would even say I am approaching Mozambique levels of it doesn't exist on the ground, which is the EVA 8 auto. I would rather have any light machine gun of any kind at all, an alternator. I just do not care about the damage that shotgun puts out right now.
I'm starting to assume that your stigma with that is the result of hit registration issues.
That's interesting.
Because I have murdered some fools with the auto shotty. I'm still a fan. That's hit registration being an admitted issue in the game that exists. Like it introduces so much doubt into the assessment of weapons. But I like the auto shotgun. I will defend it. I would much rather have a Peacekeeper, but I'm totally fine rocking an auto shotty for the first few skirmishes of a game.
Oh, sure. I mean, everything's great if it's the only thing you got.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you're really defending the alternator. What I'm saying is that I put the auto shotgun on the. Actually, I would put it maybe slightly above the alternator in my own personal hierarchy.
And if we're talking that, I think it's that evolution. It's that this is good for raiding and PvP sort of mentality. I like when things line up and the alternator lines up for the type of build I want to do, which by chance happens to reflect what's, kind of in the meta right now. When I get an EVA, I don't feel like I'm getting everything for that Peacekeeper later on because I really don't care about shotgun attachments that much compared to others. If I'm building up an EVA, I kind of feel like I'm going to lose it eventually anyway, unless I find the choke for the Peacekeeper that I'm actually excited about getting down the road, which I can't guarantee. Sometimes you're just every box has a Peacekeeper and you're like, what the hell happened in this game? And chance, it comes to light and you wish you could dual wield them. I guess you can, right? You can have two. It'd be kind of silly, but hey.
It's not the kind of dual wielding I thought you were getting at, but all right, I pick up what you're laying down.
One runs out of ammo, you switch over to the other, and you're a Peacekeeper main.
I've won early game skirmishes for that exact reason.
Yeah,
it's dumb, but sometimes you got to do it.
Oh, but it's a fabulous part, and those are great victories.
And chances are, if you're rocking two shotguns, you probably found enough shells to make that work.
Maybe it's just the difference between a 7 and a 10. And my brain goes, 7 damage, and I grazed them with an EVA. This gun sucks. And then I see a 10 out of a grazed Peacekeeper. I'm like, that 10's a pretty number. I'm gonna put
the fault on your brain because guess what? You grazed them for 10, you still did nothing.
Yeah. There's something in my brain goes, that's 2 numbers.
Fair.
Double digits.
Fair. But yeah, I mean, this list puts R99 with a longbow as the number one, and to that I say they're probably right if you're good with a longbow,
right?
And if they are right, and this is the world we now find ourselves in, where longbow is top tier, I like that much more than I like Wingman being the top tier heavy ammo weapon. I think it should be a sniper rifle just because it just feels right over the course of the most shooters I've played. And I feel a lot of us, myself included, and maybe I'm projecting here, but we have a lot of retraining to do. So a lot of us have just been ignoring sniper rifles.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do require, their attachments. And getting in a melee fight with a longbow is not something you want to do. I feel the same way about siege tanks in StarCraft. There's counterplay options. When if at the very top is the Wingman, a fabulous close range, long range, everything pistol that no matter how you close and debate your tactics, you did it wrong by engaging in the first place. Like the longbow being on top just feels healthy. Did you run up a straight, cliffside towards them in a straight line? Well, whoops. You messed up. There was counterplay available. And I really like having snipers go off in the game. There's little trails. I think the longbow has a very handsome trail that allows you to track where it came from. You feel like the game is more populated, more busy when people are taking those shots rather than avoiding them in the first place.
Yeah.
I would rather have my armor break 5 times crossing a valley and having to heal every step than feel like I found nobody until I walk in a house.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the game is just lousy with longbows. Like, it's not every game I play, I'm not getting into long range fights. It hasn't suddenly turned into what my experience was with PUBG, with a lot of mid to long range fighting going on in that particular battle royale. But it happens at all, which is more than I could say for longbow fights before the 111 patch.
And I feel like that's a good balancing act with the R99 and even the R301 here. You need that mid-range something that can handle a decent loud firefight close range. And if you come across a longbow and you're sporting just a peacekeeper, I don't feel like those two go together, which is great because I actually have some strategy around it.
Yeah, unless you're some kind of like no-scope god, right, with the longbow. But yeah. It's I really like where the meta's at right now, overall.
An agreeable list.
The game feels good. I like it. The fact that Spitfire is a bit down for me, which kind of bumps me out because I really like the gun. And the doubt that hit registration may introduce to that entire conversation aside, I'm really happy with the 111 patch. Though I went digging because you were traveling last week. I was traveling as of Thursday. I dug around. I don't think they've fixed the Gibraltar caustic thing.
No, It doesn't seem to be fixed at the moment.
Seems to still do that 10% damage through the shield into your health, which is not the most egregious thing in the world, but when I'm looking at the boons of 111, which I think overall was a really good patch, I'm surprised that hasn't been hot fixed yet. But
yeah, it gets rid of the excitement of playing those characters in the first place. And I've just been playing Lifeline nonstop.
I did. I got back and I just had this desire to just main Bloodhound, and it's been working really well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Also has helped with all the sniping going on, by the way. You pop that alt and you're just like, where the hell are they? There they are. You can figure it out. So, yeah, overall, really like it. I like this list with the biggest asterisk for me is you need to be good with the longbow if you want to agree with this number 1 slot.
Right. If I could make a wish for the next patch, it would be that this middle line, much like we talked about with the Hemlock, but I'm also starting to include mentally in its own pile the Spitfire, the Devotion. These guns are just all blah, blah, blah in my head, and a turbocharged Havoc is just another pile of blah blah. I want some uniqueness. It doesn't have to be a grenade launcher on the end of it, but they're just turning into mush. Random, take up a third of my bottom screen mush guns.
You just want what? More guns you don't pass over?
No, just that those are all the same in the same category in my head.
Oh, gotcha.
And we sort of talked about this long time ago that we'd like something to be special with energy weapon ammo, maybe. Mm-hmm. That it does more damage to shields. Like there's some reason for me to have it. And that'd be great in the late game too. I'm finding so many situations where you pop somebody and you see that purple number, you see even that gold number, and you go, wow, okay, I want some tactics in this fight. But my tactics are the exact same I was going to use on somebody with no armor. To shoot them lots.
Yeah, I guess my only pushback now, since we've had energy ammo essentially just be another type of bullet for this long, is that I feel like this is way back in the early days of Apex in the show when we had Dredd on, when he was talking about, I just kind of assumed it would burn through armor, which I don't think is I agreed with him, and I still do. I think that if you're just getting in this game, it would make a lot of sense that you might assume that. But dude, if they made that change now, that would just take over the meta. Energy weapons would now be essentially required. You would have to have an energy weapon.
Right. Not the handsomest idea in the world.
At least for a lot of us. I mean, you can still balance it. Like I would assume, even say they made that change, longbow shots to the head, still going to just do more damage overall. We end up again in that where now there's a skill floor. It's like, yeah, you can leave the energy weapon meta if you're a god with a longbow. But for a lot of us in our home games, that's just going to be the meta. So I don't know
something that I've heard that I've grabbed onto.
Yeah.
I just want that pile diversified.
Yeah. I would like it if this is the case for the Havoc, but not the case for the Devotion. And I guess you could also argue it's the case for the triple take, because the speed at which that projectile travels is so far. I would like it if they made just all energy weapons were just the most accurate in the game, and the Devotion is the outlier that's ruining that.
But there's kick.
Right, the ramp up is still like you can. Doesn't matter if you got a turbocharger or not. It's still going to kick like a mule for the first few shots, and that would obviously require a balancing act, right? Because if it didn't have that, if it was just on point from the second you pull the trigger, we're gonna have to pare that damage down.
Right, but does it have like boosters, like little spaceships do, like moon landers? What makes light kick? I guess it's the cool that it's out the side, like the air is pssing so hard that you go, whoa, it propels itself.
I mean, I'm not even trying to get into like lore reasons here. I'm just talking about just game mechanically. If we're trying to make energy just a little unique or have some kind of baseline understanding of why you would want energy, that's where at this point, that's where my brain goes. That's where I'd like to see it go. Take the Devotion, turn its damage down, make it an accurate firing gun. You could still have a ramp up, but it could still have like slower first few shots. But is there a reason it has to go from, I don't know, shooting the ground to the sky to the middle of the ground and the sky in the first 3 shots?
That has been my disappointment with the Havoc since its release. It's possibly just because it's shaped slightly like a Zarya weapon, but I kind of wish it was the long range choke for that sweet sniper laser beam. Again, I'm a little infatuated with that Halo, that old laser sniper rifle.
You were literally the only person I know.
And remember too, on Legendary, you get one shot by it. It was awful on 2.
Oh, Halo 2. I remember the exact location.
In the city early on.
Yeah, in the second level in the city when you're trying to go through that choke with the blown out buildings, and there was like multiple stories of snipers. And 2 was the getting off topic. Who cares? We're at the end of the show. And Halo 2 was the one where if one of you died in co-op, you had to restart.
Yeah,
that was the point where I was like, I'm not doing it. That was just out at that point.
Shield dicks too. They, from the first game, like they were the little like sort of lizardy, long, lanky ones, and
the jackals.
And you hated them anyway because they had shields.
Yeah, they suck.
But now they have sniper rifles.
I hate the jackals.
So what I'm saying is that I wish that instead of the Havoc being a Devotion and which one's better of the 2 that do the same thing, I wish it was just a big old, like Reaper beam that you could just, not at long range, but just kind of sweep across like a giant torch.
Okay.
Welding.
That'd be interesting.
And but then while I'm imagining, because why not? Let's get wild. I can carve a door if I want it. I can, like I'm breaking into an alien's facility, just jump out.
That would be super cool. I feel like we're just going to get a beam weapon.
Probably.
It's going to be kind of its own standalone thing that from the get-go, from the second you pick it up, is going to be a beam weapon.
Name a destructible environments game that's been good.
Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
I mean, I loved Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, I think it was called. So sometimes things do something right.
Hulk Ultimate Destruction is the best superhero game other than Spider-Man 2 and now the Sony Spider-Man PS4 game.
My point is that it's a gimmick, and often if there's any sort of destructible environments, the whole game falls apart because so much work was put into
There was
that
also
one
that Red
aspect.
Faction game that was amazing that had like the hammer.
Yeah. Was it good?
It was. That was a good game.
Yeah.
That was a very good
Right.
game. But yeah, I don't want to. Also, Rainbow Six Siege has very destructible environments, which
That's true.
you were just talking about. Has maintained the rise to glory that it saw last year.
I would love to lean, man. I know it probably doesn't do much, but every time I see someone lean sideways in Siege, I go, that's nice.
I know you're waiting for a sale, and when that comes, I will say it again. We need to play PUBG.
Can you lean?
Yes, you can lean, and
Okay.
it drove me batty that I couldn't do it when I first started playing Apex Legends.
Yeah.
But again, PUBG, a lot more long-range combat, and a lean is really freaking helpful in that scenario. I'm not sure it's as important in Apex Legends, but if we ever get another map with more open areas, if the sniper rifle meta continues and maybe grows, something I'd like to see. But at some point, we're going to play PUBG. Hey, if anyone listening just has like an extra PUBG code laying around, let us know. Because we're waiting for a sale to hook Kyle up. Because it feels like it's on Steam, right? It always feels bad. It always feels bad when you pay full price for anything on Steam. Because then next week it's like, oh, it was $3 and a taco. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I should have held out. So, anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. If you want to be a part of the show, if you've got questions, comments, strategies you'd like to share, write in to amovetv@gmail.com or join the Amove Discord, which you can join by going to bit.ly/AMOVE Discord. There's an Enter the Apex channel in there, and you can just drop questions. Make sure you at Kyle and me so we see him. So we see him and we don't miss him. There's a lot of chatter, a lot of people partying up, making friends, learning how to play together. It's great. It's a good community. Go check it out. Again, bit.ly/Amove Discord. Kyle is at Kyle Ferguson on Twitter. I'm at Garrett Art. Go give us a follow. Other than that, Kyle, where can everybody find you?
You can find me once again over at twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. Shows are back for the whole week. That includes There Will Be Dungeons, the live 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons podcast, as well as Into the Nexus, and all sorts of shows that happen over on the Twitch.
Yeah. You can find me and everything I do at amove.tv. A brand new episode of Let's Talk About Star Wars just posted. It's entirely about The Mandalorian and the information we learned about that upcoming live-action Star Wars television series at Celebration 2019 with me, Tom Merritt, and Jenny Josephson. So go subscribe to Let's Talk About Star Wars. Other than that, everything else is at Amove TV. Kyle, by the way, we have a Patreon together. It's for Into the Nexus, but in reality, it's for you and I. So
That's true.
Anyone out there, and we love you if you've been asking, hey, when's the Patreon for Enter the Apex? It seems unnecessary, seeing as you and I have a Patreon already. So if you're looking to support us and what we do in our craft of podcasting, head on over to patreon.com/ITN. Check it out. We got some new goals over there. Give them a look-see and see if you like what the future of content we're hoping to build is.
And certainly let us know if you end up supporting over there for Apex itself, because we are crafting that to be the place for Garrett and Kyle shows. We like doing shows together. We want to do more shows together.
We do.
Hey,
We do. And there just seems to be an obscene amount of crossover in who's subscribing to these shows. So go check it out. Patreon.com/ITN. It's going to wrap it up for this episode of Enter the Apex. I almost said issue. This is not a magazine as much as us in print would be interesting, Kyle.
There were issues.
Yeah, we're gonna have a Kyle centerfold. It's gonna be
Damn.
laying down on a bearskin rug.
Okay. Give me a couple months, all right? As they say, I am cultivating mass right now, and I felt a little weird in Florida.
Cultivating mass?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Bulking, it's been fun, but I feel dopey.
I feel doughy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been pretty busy. Hard to eat healthy. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up. We'll see you next week for episode 12. Until then, good luck and have fun.
Take care.